Would you share some of your thoughts about what a practice that is relationship driven, how do they, how do they represent that to their patients?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to think, well, what's so special about being relationship driven? I mean, don't you have a relationship with the checkout person at the grocery store? Or don't you have a relationship with the person that owns the bakery down the street? And so what I really think is important to understand is that we're talking about a lot more than good rapport. We're talking about a lot more than being nice to each other and courteous. When I talk about being relationship driven, what we're really talking about is knowing the person on a much deeper level, in a way that I understand you. Let's say you, Gary, are my patient. My goal is to understand who Gary is and what Gary's priorities are, and what's really, really important to Gary, particularly related to dentistry. And so that any planning that I do later on, after we've finished examinations and had conversations, any planning that I do is in alignment with Gary's expectations and Gary's priorities. And when you co-create plans with patients, the outcome is they always say yes. How are they going to say no to something they helped create? That's sort of the equivalent of the architect drawing up my building and me coming back and say, no, I don't want to do that. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So the goal is to get farther enough down the road relationship wise that you can sit down at a table and plan their future. Bob Barkley used to call that success planning. And I love that phrase, success planning. Let's sit down and put together a success plan that takes you from where you are now to on into the future when you're 70. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about how things are trending now and what that will mean 10, 20 years from now? Does that concern you? And so that's sort of the way Bob worked with patients.
Yeah. And the sad reality is that the healthcare model, I'm talking about medical healthcare model that we have today, has really gone very much away from that. And yet in dentistry, we can still be very relationship driven. But I think the healthcare model and how broken it is also presents a tremendous opportunity for us, because frankly, the bar is pretty low.
No question about it.
As we're recording this, just for audience benefit, Paul and I are seeing each other here on Zoom, and I see you smile when I say the bar is set low. Yeah. And it's a sad comment on healthcare, but it presents opportunity for us in dentistry. Comment on that if you would, Paul.
Well, let me put it this way. It's an opportunity you could drive a truck through. You just have to be aware of it. You have to be able to see it, and you have to be able to understand that, because we live in a very depersonalized world. And I know everybody that's listening to this podcast understands that. It used to be that you would go to the store and you would know everybody there. It used to be that you would take your car to a place where you knew everybody that worked there. It used to be that you went to the school and you knew everybody there. Our society's gotten so atomized that we hardly know anybody anymore. And the people that we do know, we're not so sure we can trust them.
Yeah. If you're of a particular vintage, like some of us are, we might even remember where you could go to a restaurant and have a tab.
Right.
Because we knew the owner of the restaurant, and we were trusted patrons of the restaurant, and we could run a tab and settle that tab on occasion. And
or you would sit down and they would just bring out what they knew already that you would have ordered. I mean, those are times, unfortunately, long gone. But therein lies the opportunity. However, that tragedy opens the door to a big opportunity, which is dentistry. Because of if we choose to structure our practice this way, dentistry becomes an unbelievable opportunity to connect with people and help with them on a deep, significant level that literally will change their life. And that's not hyperbole.
And I would suggest, Paul, that that reality that you just described is what makes dentistry really so fulfilling for dentists. is the connection you have with them and the way you've been able to influence their lives is in such a positive way.
Yeah. And, medicine used to be like that, when the doctor used to come to the home and knew the family and knew the environment and knew the economic circumstances they were under and all of that. But dentistry is really one of the only places left where you can do that. Name another one. It's not physical therapy. It's not pharmacy. It's not speech therapy. It's none of these things,
Yeah.
And so, dentistry, again, you have to choose that, and you have to very in a conscious way create that situation. Or you can just unconsciously recreate the mill that exists in medicine and a lot of other dental practices today. It's up to you. But that's the wonderful thing about dentistry. You do have a choice how you go about doing this. Hence, you have a choice about how you're going to live your life, because the majority of your life is going to be spent in a dental office, assuming that you stay healthy and are willing to practice. And, I always thought, if I could create a practice situation that I really enjoyed it, then I would never really want to retire. And then I could just retire when I just felt like I was ready. And so every year it becomes more fun to me, really, to practice. So now I understand why some dentists choose to continue practicing even into their 70s when they don't have to. They can retire. But they gain so much interpersonally out of being there and helping people that they continue to do that long past the point of retirement.